Despite only being in the league for a total of 4 seasons, it seems like Jayson Tatum has already been in a lot of places for the Boston Celtics, considering that he's already played in the Eastern Conference Finals twice, and that is already a 2-time All-Star, and that has already become an All-NBA third-team selection, to the point that it becomes easy to forget that he's only 23 years old with so much room to grow as a player. While Tatum's rise to stardom began during his third NBA season when he seemingly became the Celtics' main man as he led the team in scoring, and in that same season's playoffs, Tatum also achieved a rare feat, becoming only the 6th player in NBA history under the age of 23 to average at least 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists in a single playoff run. And in the recently concluded 2020 to 2021 NBA season, Tatum continued to take a leap as the Celtics' main offensive engine as he put up 26.4 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game during the regular season, which are all career-high numbers, which high level of play continued all the way to the play-in tournament as he dropped 50 points against the Washington Wizards to secure a playoff spot for his team. And in the playoffs, despite losing to the Brooklyn Nets in the first round, and despite leading a short-handed Boston team who missed key guys for most of the series, Tatum once again made history by being only the 6th youngest player to average at least 30 points in a single playoff run, only behind guys like Luka Doncic, Ja Morant, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and Tracy McGrady. So based on how he has already become a certified all-star caliber young player, and based on how he has developed as a scorer, a playmaker, and as a clutch performer throughout the years, the logical next question would be, is Jayson Tatum finally ready to break out and to jump right into legitimate NBA superstar status as soon as next season? So what's good guys, it's Riro Balls here, and today we'll look into all those parts of his game which could show us that Tatum is indeed already on the brink of NBA superstardom. But before we move on, if you guys happen to enjoy this video and these types of content, please make sure to hit that like button as it definitely helps the channel reach more people. It only takes a second of your time, but it will be much appreciated. So let's get to it. Well, for sure, Boston's 7th seed finish and first round exit wouldn't be able to support it, but the truth is, Jayson Tatum still managed to continue taking his game a notch higher this past season as indicated by his numbers and also by the eye test. I mean, the magic of his 4th season started right at the very first game of the year when he banked a 3-point game winner against Milwaukee with Giannis practically draped over him, which game winner would basically set the foundations for a lot of clutch moments that he had throughout the season, which he of course capped off with his spectacular playoff performance against KD and the Brooklyn Nets, wherein Tatum did average a nasty 40.6 points over the last 3 games of the series. But the thing is, Tatum's 4th year actually didn't progress in a linear motion as he had to battle COVID-19 mid-season, and his struggle to get back into shape was quite evident as seen by his numbers for the month of February, which was the first full month when he came back from being sick, as his February 2021 stats showed season lows of 39% shooting from the field and 31% shooting from deep. Well, I mean, Tatum still had one hell of a season, especially towards the end, as he did score at least 50 points 3 times since the month of April, but could we really have seen an even more explosive and an even better Jayson Tatum if only he wasn't slowed down by illness? Well, we can only speculate about it, but the good thing is, Tatum just seems to be ready to be a full-blown superstar based on what his play indicated last season, which of course all starts with his scoring. I mean, Tatum has always been able to light it up from almost everywhere on the floor, but more importantly, he has pretty much become a great fit in today's space and pace type of game, as the guy has been a 39.6% outside shooter for his entire 4-year career. Well, the thing is, Tatum has always been an above-average catch-and-shoot outside shooter, and that remains to be true even today, as he shot 44.6% on spot-up threes last season, even though those kinds of shots basically have been occupying a very small part of his game recently. Because for a guy who entered his 4th season fresh off being locked in a max contract, expectations for Tatum to be a more frequent shot creator were just really high, and with injuries to Jaylen Brown and Kemba Walker, Tatum basically responded to the challenge really well as he increasingly became a master shot creator last season, as 71% of all his 3-point attempts came as pull-ups, and even as defense is constantly focused on him, he was still able to drain 36.3% of all those pull-up threes, which is above league average. And to put it into deeper context, out of all players who attempted at least 5 pull-up threes per game last season, Tatum's efficiency was the 5th best in the NBA, only behind Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, and CJ McCollum, who are some of the most elite shot creators in the game today. And also, for a guy who was basically a low-volume shooter as a rookie who had to thrive alongside high-volume shot creators like Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, Tatum definitely has come a long way as a shot creator of his own, because if you look at it, as a rookie, 56.5% of all his 2-point field goals and 92.4% of all his 3-pointers were assisted, but now as a 4th-year player, those numbers are down big time to 38.3% and 46.5%. And usually, increasing shot creating responsibility causes players' efficiency rates to drop off, but this hasn't been the case with Tatum, as both his field goal percentage and his effective field goal percentage have been continuously improving every year over the past 2 seasons as well. But moving on, another part of Tatum's game which I find rather interesting is his rim attacking. Well, at this point, I think Tatum is already a much better player in terms of reacting to what the defense gives him. I mean, when he's trying to drive downhill, he's now basically able to create his own path to the rim as compared to before when he was basically limited to the space or angles that defenders allowed him to have. So to put it simply, Tatum already has the footwork and the body control needed for him to really drive straight to the basket most of the time, which would basically get him higher efficiency looks based on analytics. But this is also where it gets pretty interesting, because looking at it, last season, Tatum took slightly more shots from between 3 to 10 feet of the basket, which is basically the so-called floater range, than he did at the rim, which is basically between 0 to 3 feet of the basket. And this is where the problem comes in, because Tatum is a much better finisher directly at the rim, wherein he made 73.5% of all his attempts, as compared to beyond 3 feet, wherein he only made 41.7% of his shots. So basically, this means that Tatum is almost twice as likely to score if he just gets a few feet closer to the basket when he's driving. And for a career 84% free throw shooter like him, there shouldn't be a problem when he gets to the free throw line either. So the question is, why is Tatum not straight up welcoming the physicality that opposing rim protectors would give him? Well, I think a lot of this still has got to do with his lack of strength and his lack of balance when handling contact, and this is why I think we have also heard him emphasizing the need to get bulkier and to gain more muscle this offseason, which makes complete sense, because I mean, once Tatum learns how to attack the rim more squared with more verticality and with more willingness to embrace contact, the more likely that he'll be able to get off a higher percentage shot instead of just settling for in-hand reverse shots or mid-range floaters for runners. And if he's able to do that, the more likely that he'll get to the free throw line at a better rate, and that will just get him more points. I mean, yeah, for sure, he averaged 26.4 points last season, which ranked 11th in scoring in the league, which is actually impressive considering that Jaylen Brown ranked 20th in scoring as well. But the thing is, Tatum didn't necessarily make things easier for himself, as he only averaged 5.4 free throw attempts per game, which only ranks him 29th in free throw rate in the entire NBA, which is pretty underwhelming considering that guys with a lower usage rate than him like Russell Westbrook got to the line close to 7 times per game, or Zion Williamson who got to the line more than 8 times per game as well. Well, sure, Tatum isn't a freak athlete like those guys, but is still a solid leaper with a reported height of 6'10", who has the ability to routinely get to the basket with his long strides, and who has shown time and again that he can catch bodies above the rim. And again, based on the numbers, a conscious effort to get to the rim should just help Tatum unlock his superstar potential easier. Because looking at it, last season, there were only 17 regular season games where he had at least 8 free throw attempts, but in those games, he did average a whopping 32.2 points as compared to the much lower 24.3 points he averaged during the other 47 games when he did have a lower free throw rate. So the correlation is basically self-explanatory. Attacking the rim even at just a slightly higher rate next season should easily make Tatum a 30-point per game scorer, and given the other moves that he still has in his bag of tricks such as his mid-range turnaround or his sidestep jumper, who knows how far he can actually go scoring-wise. And also, I think a bulkier version of Jayson Tatum who's willing to invite more contact should also be able to muscle his way to the rim with his chin up, as opposed to that version of him who simply chooses to put his head down to try and simply finesse his way to his spots. Because I think by attacking with more strength with his head up, Tatum will be able to see incoming help defenders better, which would also enable him to evaluate the type of passes which he should dish out to open teammates ahead of time, and that should contribute to his further improvement as a playmaker. But I definitely think Tatum is actually a better playmaker than he's given credit for, and I think is also continuously improving in terms of setting up his teammates, which to be fair is expected from a star player. I mean, his 4.3 assists per game isn't eye-popping, but among all NBA forwards, this number is enough to rank Tatum number 9 in terms of playmaker rating, where he ranked 39th the previous season, and 14th in assists per game, where he ranked 30th the previous season. So Tatum is basically right where you want him to be as a facilitator at this stage of his career, and I think what's even better for him is that next season he'll most likely be encouraged to move the ball more or to move off the ball himself, since the Celtics have added a couple of guys who are actually good facilitators facilitators for their positions such as Al Horford and Dennis Schroder, and with the return of Marcus Smart who averaged a team-high 5.7 assists for the team last season, as well as Jaylen Brown who's also constantly growing as a passer, Tatum will be afforded more time to grow as a playmaker while simultaneously also having easier scoring chances off the ball. So I mean, although you can say that Boston still lacks an elite playmaker in their roster, I think there should be enough reason to think that this team can still create offense through several players. And also, this current Celtics lineup should also enable them to play 5 guys who can all lead the fast break on the floor all at the same time. I mean, even their bigs like Al Horford or Robert Williams are pretty good open floor players, and this strength of Boston's lineup should further help Tatum utilize his scoring ability on the open floor even more. Cause looking at it, excluding guys listed as centers or power forwards, Tatum actually ranked 6th in total dunks made last season in the NBA, and a lot of those dunks actually came in transition. And also, according to Basketball Index, Tatum had a total of 33 coast-to-coast buckets last season, which are defined as buckets scored within 8 seconds after a player grabs a defensive rebound. And this further shows Tatum's willingness to routinely run the open floor. So basically, you can just see how this current Celtics roster is easily going to be tailor-made for Tatum's skill set, and that should give him even more scoring opportunities. So at this point, Tatum is already doing all the right things on the court, which shows us that he's right on the brink of superstardom at a very young age. And if he gets a healthy team around him next season, I think we'll also start to see much clearer how he can become a real centerpiece for a Celtics championship team in the future. So, do you guys think Jayson Tatum is finally going to enter elite status next season? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video and if you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Riro Balls and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.